everybody? Welcome back. It is Friday, November 17th, 2017, 5:40 p.m. Eastern Time for me. Alright, we are touching base on this system we've been following that for the last 3 weeks, the CMC and also the GFS here and there has been predicting to form down here in the South Caribbean and then making its way up towards Jamaica, possibly crossing over Cuba, and then maybe becoming an issue. But as we get closer to that date, although it's still being registered, it is showing a weaker system, which is a good thing. Now, it is still there, so we'll jump to tropical tidbits really quick. Let me back us up to current time. Let's make sure we're on CMC for now. And this is November 16th, which is yesterday, and then we'll move forward to today. Now keep an eye down here because you can see that low system we've been watching form. It's just clearly not as dense as it has been over the last couple weeks. Again, this is a good thing, so hopefully this doesn't form at all, but we do have a few other things to talk about, including a tropical event from Florida that's actually starting over the states here, and then it moves into the Gulf, gaining a little bit of momentum, and then could be an issue later next week for Florida, believe it or not, as a tropical system. But first, we'll keep an eye down here for that low system. You can see it kind of showing its density in this area. And then we'll move forward. You can see it trying to become a system, clearly not what it was even a day ago. But whatever this system is, it is showing to move right over Jamaica as a low, not breaking that thousand number mark on the millibars for pressure. And then it moves its way up and becomes a non-issue once it gets towards the Bahamas. Now you can notice on either side we have a low system here, and then this is the system I'm talking about that may be an issue for Florida. Now let's keep an eye on this too. Let me back up a little bit. You can see where it forms. You can see it's part of the dip in the jet stream that comes down from Canada, and it works its way this way. We're also going to talk about this area here. There's a weird void that's going on, at least on tropical tidbits, where a whole section of the country is not even registering as far as data goes for weather, which I don't remember ever seeing on this chart, but it is pretty interesting. We'll show you that on a bigger version. We'll zoom in and check that out. But as far as this system that may be an issue for Florida, let's check out and see where it comes from. You can see it right here. It begins to form. Now, we would be able to see more of it had this area not been voided out. Now, for some reason, even if I switch to another chart, for example here, a wider view of a lot of the Pacific and the Atlantic, you see this entire area here is just not coming in on the data. You can see systems moving through it, like we can see right here, and then nothing in this whole area. You can see the high and low pressures pop up, but it's not registering any data as far as the colors go, which is kind of weird. I don't remember ever seeing that before, so maybe it's some sort of glitch. It could be a data failure. I don't know if Tropical Tidbits bases all its data off other charts and stuff, or if they have actual sensors out, which I find hard to believe. I think it's all satellite imagery that determines these charts, but for some reason there's a whole area here that's just being voided out, and you can see as I move forward and back, you can kind of see where it cuts off. You got these little bumps here, and it almost looks like those NEXRAD satellite images, where if you look at the NEXRAD sites, they're all just these circles of their towers, like pulsing that energy, and then in turn they read the satellite data. But yeah, for whatever reason, we're not getting any data updates in this entire chunk of the country here. Now, I'll continue watching this to see if that changes, but at least for the last couple hours, I haven't seen anything there. But what we're watching now, I got you here on the wide radar chart. Again, we're checking out this lower area of the Caribbean, and we're watching this system that is going to looks to come down north to south over Texas, and then enter the Gulf, and possibly gain some strength before affecting Florida. So we'll go back to this zoom in chart here, and again you can see it beginning to form here. It's a dip down in the jet stream, so it's going to push this way, and it's going to enter the Gulf. You'll see it enter around 22nd, I want to say, yeah, 22nd. We can see the middle of the low pressure is here. Got a little bit of severe weather on the west side of it as of now, and then as we move into the week, you can see it develops right there. So now we have 1,000 millibar pressure for this system. Now that's pretty significant for a tropical system. Now it just depends on how long this is going to be over the Gulf. Again, the Gulf is cooling down, which is good because it'll give this thing less fuel to develop by the time it does affect Florida. But if you watch it, it does go right into the panhandle almost, right into the catcher's mitt area, right around here. That could change also. It depends on how fast the jet stream is moving west to east, because that is the momentum that's pushing this system into the side of Florida. It could dip lower, it could be a little more shallow and end up somewhere up here, which would actually weaken it because then it wouldn't have the Gulf of Mexico to fuel it. So I'll back up again. We can watch where it forms. Right there is the beginning of it, so it's going to come almost diagonal from the west and then down south into the Gulf here. And then by right there, let's say by the 24th, the day before, or right around Thanksgiving actually, it should be when it's an issue, which is unfortunate for Florida. It depends on how big this thing gets again. You can see right here it breaks that 1,000 millibar thing down to 999. So that is something to keep an eye on. I don't know if the people of Florida have been hearing about this yet or expecting this, but that is certainly something to watch. And at the same time, we're also watching this area we've been keeping an eye on in the South Caribbean. Here is that system again. It's going to move in a northern direction and then kind of dissipate right over the Bahamas there, just as this system's coming in. So we'll see if these two systems have any sort of interaction. You can see the interaction would be right there. Now if you notice, this circle line is a pretty defined circle, and then as it meets up with this system that's kind of fading away, you'll see it push out like this and it'll form a weird looking line right there. So you can see they're kind of interacting with each other. Now this is going to be right over Florida, the whole thing. So again, this is going to depend on the amount of moisture we have in this system, how much momentum is bringing cooler air down. It may be a cooler system, but regardless, it may bring a lot of rain and stuff like that to Florida, which kind of isn't going to be fun for the holidays, at least for this upcoming one. We still have many holidays to come for clear weather, hopefully, and hopefully no snow. But you can also see how these the systems that are moving west to east over the northeast, they are just forming after they pass over, with the exception of this one. This one looks to be pretty significant. This is starting tomorrow. Now this may be a big rainmaker for the northeast as well. This would be the 19th, so about 36 hours from now, we may be dealing with some weather up in the northeast. I'll keep an eye on that as well. And then right here seems to be the strongest of it, and you can see the deep purples right off the coast here of Delaware. And then we'll move forward a little bit, and we just kind of missed the worst of it. It doesn't form over the northeast there. And also another thing that's interesting is that we've been waiting to see if any of these charts are picking up a disturbance, and you can clearly see that we do have a 20% over 48 hours and a 20% over the next 5 days in that South Caribbean area that we've been watching for the last couple of weeks. So these charts are picking up the possibility of a disturbance. Both the charts are actually. We can click it and get a little bit of a closer view here. So this is the area we're going to be watching. Now again, on Tropical Tidbits, it shows it popping up like we've been seeing. You can see the dense area right here, even though there's no L next to it or any of those deep colors. They are expecting this to be somewhat of a disturbance. And then it seems to want to go in a western direction right over Jamaica there. Now, that's where it's going to get interesting, because I brought up that warm water chart that we've been looking at, and you can see if the storm forms right around here, it's moving itself right into the warmest of the water we have in the Caribbean. So if this thing does anything significant, chances are it's going to be the worst of it's going to be in this area. Unfortunately, looks like it's going to be over Jamaica. And then once it crosses over that side of Cuba, we're dealing with cooler water. So the chances of it thriving as a storm is much, much lower than it was even a couple weeks ago. But again, we got that one system coming down into the Gulf that could affect Florida. And then we have the noticed disturbance now, 20 and 20. That is said to move north over Jamaica and then through Cuba, and then both of those systems sort of meet right in this area. So that could cause some turbulent weather for Florida and the Bahamas and the north coast of Cuba here. So throughout the weekend, I will bring you updates daily on these two systems here that may meet right over Florida. As we move forward in time, you can see yet another system that just leaves the northeast of the U.S. becomes pretty big. Now this would be heading right towards Ireland and the UK. Once again, it looks to break up a little bit before it gets towards them, so we will watch that as well. And in an upcoming video, guys, I've been doing a lot of research into these booms that people have been hearing in Alabama, and there was a big one in Florida a couple days prior to that. There was actually one near Pennsylvania I didn't hear about that was also within a reasonable time of that one in Florida. So we're getting a lot of these reports of these loud explosions basically in the sky. And guys, what I've been reading so far, even though NASA, this was 2 days ago, they are saying that this is still a mystery. They're not sure what it is. I mean, I don't know how much you can trust NASA as far as their accurate information out to the public. But from what I'm getting, guys, a lot of people have been seeing fireballs in the sky. Now, we were talking about this a lot, especially during the California fires, about a possible meteor shower causing that stuff. And I'm still sticking by that. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about other specific causes of this, but I just have not seen the data yet. I base a lot of my info, if not all of it, on data that I can actually show you guys. I don't like going out into that guessing game and making predictions and stuff like that. So I base a lot of this on evidence, and we had a lot of evidence, including people on the ground saying that they were seeing fireballs and meteors in the sky that exact night that those fires started. And also with these big explosions, a lot of people, even though some of them were in the daytime, so it's a lot harder to see if there's something going on in the sky, there was people reporting, especially in Alabama and Florida, seeing fireballs in the sky. And in one situation, there were fireballs coming from different directions. So if we were dealing with a meteor shower, usually those all come from the same direction, being that those meteors are moving in the same direction. So having fireballs coming from different directions shows a little bit of a different story. So I'm going to dig into that, and I'm going to bring you guys at least my opinion in the report. And I'm going to keep that a separate video so I don't keep you guys here too long. But as far as the weather goes, that is what we're watching now, right in this area for that disturbance. It's a 20 and 20, and also that low pressure system moving across Texas, down into the Gulf, and then meeting up with it right over Florida, Cuba, and the Bahamas. So that's where we're at now, guys. I didn't want to keep you here too long. I hope you have a great Friday. I'm going to have another report tomorrow morning. I may have another one later on this evening. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll talk to you all very soon.